question. That's again going back to climate change negotiations. I'd like to talk a little bit about loss and damage mechanism, and I'll just explain a little bit what it is, because it was established here in Poland during negotiations in 2013 during the COP in Warsaw. And the full name of it is the Warsaw International Mechanism on Loss and Damage, usually called loss and damage. Which is a climate policy mechanism dedicated to dealing with climate-related effects in highly vulnerable countries that face severe constraints and limits to adaptation. So what I wanted to ask you is, because you're advising vulnerable countries during the negotiations, what, in your opinion, what challenges ahead we face for the loss and damage mechanism?
Thank you for that question. Let me start with a sort of describing the progress that we have made. So we have made some progress. It's a very highly contentious and politically sensitive issue, because the developed countries, who are the major polluters, fear the use of the terms liability and compensation. In fact, those two words are taboo. They are not allowed to be used. So loss and damage is a euphemism to talk about liability and compensation without talking about liability and compensation. And you know this very well in the work that you have done in the past with us. But in Warsaw, in COP19, when we were in Poland at Warsaw, we had a major breakthrough. The breakthrough was that these developed countries, who for 19 years until then refused to talk about this issue, finally agreed. We got them to agree, and they set up what you have just mentioned is the Warsaw International Mechanism on loss and damage, which allowed us to talk about this issue. So we set up an executive committee, they had a work program, and they did some very good work at the scientific level. What does it mean? How do you describe it? How do you work on it? What are the options to deal with it, etc. So some good scientific work was done. And then last year in COP25, when we were in Madrid, in Spain, there was a agenda item to review the Warsaw International Mechanism and to decide whether to continue with it. If we continue, then how to continue, because in the original COP19, it had a limited time life. It wasn't a permanent setup. It was a limited time setup, and we had to review the progress in COP25 in Madrid. And the Madrid result was, from our point of view, the vulnerable countries' point of view, a partial success and also a failure. The success part was in our demand for a much bigger technical assistance element in the Warsaw mechanism. Right now, it has just an executive committee with very little budget. They can't do very much. We want a much more full-fledged technical wing, and we got that. It is called the Santiago Network on Loss and Damage, Santiago being the capital of Chile, which was the co-president of the COP25. As you know, it was originally supposed to be in Chile, but it got moved to Spain in Madrid, and the COP presidency was Chile and Spain as well. So Chile as the COP presidency named it the Santiago Network, and that's a very good thing. And that will be on the agenda for discussion. And we are now preparing to see what do we want in this network. What does it consist of? How can it be fleshed out? How can it be capacitated to do things? And then after that, the second demand that we had, which was for funding loss and damage, financing loss and damage, paying people who are suffering from loss and damage, that we didn't get. And in fact, if you remember, Madrid went over time for 2 days. It was supposed to end on a Friday evening. It went all night Friday, all day Saturday, all night Saturday into Sunday. And even then it didn't finish everything. And this was one of the items it did not resolve. So no funding, agreed. So going forward to COP26, we are going to work on the funding aspect from the developing countries, the least developed countries, and the Climate Vulnerable Forum. And we are going to make the case, which is going to say what I have earlier said, that the year 2020 was not only the year of COVID-19, it was also the year in which we have moved into a globally warmed world.